We are live, coming here with a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I'm your host Trevor. Tonight we are joined by Andy. Andy, how you doing tonight?
What up? What up?
And we are also joined by Alex. Alex, welcome back. How you doing?
Yo, yo, yo.
And we are here with the Stir the Pod Untold History Documentary Recap Show. And before we even get started, I think I can speak for this entire group that this pod might just go off the fucking rails. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for a while. It was a little mix of like American Vandal mixed in with a little Woodstock 99. Like, I love the vibes tonight. It got me fired up for this new season of the challenge. I don't know how you guys feel, but maybe it's just the challenge withdrawal. Like, we haven't seen it in a while. I had goosebumps part of that episode tonight. So I don't know about you guys. One of you guys want to spitball right here? What was your opening thoughts?
Yeah, I'm fired up as well. I think, I think that they were releasing this documentary a month ago or so. And at that time, we had no idea when season 38 was coming on. And then like a couple weeks go by. I think last week was when the trailer dropped. And so we basically put all the puzzle pieces together a la a final challenge. And we realized that this documentary is going to lead us up right into season 38. In season 38, it's like a 9-month gap. I mean, the last challenge season, the last flagship show was in 2021. We're almost in October 2022. So the challenge, Untold History, is kind of like a little appetizer. It's like a little preseason for us. It's going to lead us right into there. So, we're going to break down the whole trailer or the whole 2 hours that we got tonight. But like you said, Trev, just the butterflies of just being back. It's kind of a good lead up into season 38.
Andy, opening thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's Hard Knocks. It's Hard Knocks for the NFL season. And you kind of forget about it. You don't realize how much you miss it and you love it. And then you see this and you just get immediately reminded of, oh my God, I love the challenge. It's back. We're back. We, Stir the Pod, are back. Everyone's back. And I'm so happy.
So speaking of we are back, we are live. Does this mean we are going to be live for the next like 20 weeks for Stir the Pod? Wow. I guess we're back. I guess print the t-shirts, get the newspaper, MJ, we're back. So I don't know how we kind of want to tackle this documentary. Alex, I don't know if you have any ideas, or Andy. I kind of like the breakup of it had, but is there anything that we should get started talking about this doc?
I think kind of what we liked about it, how we thought they put it together. I mean, my first thought was the first 10, 15 minutes that we got, which kind of led into what we already talked about, which was like the challenge is back. It made me love the show the first like 15 minutes, where it was just like showing highlights. There was really no structure to it. It was just like, showing challenger in the dark room, interviewing them, just getting these like 30-second clips. Like, that made me love the challenge. So that kind of got the juices flowing. And then I think they just like did a really good job with the 2 hours. I'm curious to see what the third, I think third and last segment of it is. But I think they did a good job just kind of progressing. We're going to break some of it down, but I think overall I enjoyed the 2 hours, and especially the first 15 minutes or so.
And before we go on and talk more, I apologize. The first thing that we should have done is welcome back to the chat. Jesse Adams, Mikey the Doctor, the real OGs back at it again. I know there's a few other people that were tweeting at us tonight and stuff. Love to see it. Love to have you guys a part of the show. Feel free, always message us in the comments, YouTube, Twitter, DMs, wherever. We're happy to answer those questions throughout the entire night. Andy, anything else you want to talk about in the beginning opening stages? I thought personally, the only, and I don't want to talk that negatively of tonight's entire show, but I wish it was just a little bit longer with that kind of stuff. I don't know if you got that. Like, I love the background of getting to, I think kind of the end of episode 1, we kind of got to what, was it the island? Was that the break off, or was it fresh meat?
It was like Rivals.
Sorry, excuse me. Yeah. Like, I feel like that was too far in the timeline. Like, I would have liked more behind the scenes stuff of the early seasons coming up with the ideas. And obviously, that stuff's not out there. And a lot of that stuff, let's be honest, is I mean, we saw some glimpse of it, kind of beating around the bush and stuff like that. Wes's partner, a lot of backstory and stuff they can't air today, and that's fine. But I just love the idea of watching something grow. And obviously, like today, I mean, the challenge is massive, but like just the early stages, I wish we could have gotten a little more. Andy, anything else?
Oh, no, sorry. I actually thought you asked a question to me and then you answered. So are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. I thought the same.
But seriously, I think
like seeing the Munum guy and seeing like the actual Godfathers and the crazy minds that concocted this show back in the 90s talk about like how they came about that idea, and then like to see what they're talking about now and like how they go forward. It's nuts. And it's something I had no clue about.
yeah, I mean, it's a part, and that's why I wish it was a little more, I guess. Like, I love the behind the scenes stuff. Getting into episode 2, not too far, but like the flood and stuff like that. Like, that's the stuff I like seeing in these kind of things. Stuff that we don't really know about. Like, we've heard the whisperings, we've heard everything, but like until you actually see like the footage and stuff, I mean, it's crazy. Another thing in the opening segment, I think all three of us, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've seen all the episodes of the early seasons. So when they were going kind of through them and how it started off becoming missions and then it became, challenges into eliminations and stuff. I don't know how you guys felt, but I mean, that's just all. Like, I love that stuff. Like, it's just such like a refresher and like kind of what we talked about, how they're upgrading like season by season, and maybe now and embrace debate later on, like maybe they're going too far and they're doing too much now. But like it's cool to see from missions to the first politics that were kind of shown. I think that was Battle of the Seasons, or it was like or season 5 or whatever. I forget who it was, but they talked about that and stuff. So any other, any other things that stick out to you in kind of that beginning stage of the beginning of?
I mean, just going off of that, Trev, I think that was one of my favorite parts about the whole 2 hours of the documentary. I think that was the thing they did, in my opinion, the best, was just kind of like highlighting the key milestones of the challenge. Like, we went 5 seasons and then we did this big thing. We did 5 seasons and then we did this big thing. And we'll get into some of those things, but yeah, I think that was my favorite part. And, they broke it down. They did the classic sliding timeline, which is, it always makes it easier to follow. And I think the start of that, once we as the viewers kind of get shown that this is the format that we're going to do, was the beginning shows with real world and road rules, and getting even just some of that footage from literally the early 90s. I mean, some of us were negative years old at the time. And so the fact that they kind of at least give us somewhat of a background of like, these were the shows that started the challenge, and to like us kind of watching the show, recapping the show today, it's almost like unrecognizable. It's like a different show, but it's incredible to kind of see just how far it's come from that very first 30 minutes of the documentary.
Absolutely. Another part kind of in the history. How about the one thing that kind of stuck out was, how about Mark Long hosting? I kind of forgot about that.
Legend.
I thought it was funny how they only did it for 1 season because he was like partying with the castmates and they were literally telling him the challenges like 2 minutes before they were on, because he would just like give it away. Like stuff like that is just hilarious. But who else were the other hosts before? We had Dave Mirra, RIP, and then
Mosley.
The guy who did, what's his name?
Yeah.
John Mosley.
I think they did a good job leading up to that too, because I think obviously TJ is the headliner, but they also mentioned that the first few seasons there was no host. They just kind of had, I think, the producers bossing them around, and then it went to the one with Mark and some guy named Eric, and then they were partying with the cast and everything, and then it went to Mosley, went to Dave Mirra, RIP, and then we'll get into TJ in a little bit, but yeah, I think they did a good job highlighting those early seasons. So it seems like, and Trev, I know you've specifically seen some of these early seasons. The first, I don't know, 5, I think Battle of the Seasons is when they mentioned it. So the first 4 seasons, it was just like 6 people coming on doing like stupid challenges, singing competitions. And then the 5th season, they said they like amped it up. And at that time they did. I mean, it's crazy looking back now, but at the time they amped it up. They brought in 32 people, Battle of the Seasons, like a full-fledged format. They have a host. And then from there, we're off.
Yeah. And I was gonna bring up, where do you think this is going to kind of lead into TJ? If you would have liked a host to stick around, who would have you liked? Or maybe there's a different person outside of, I don't know, they were kind of in that X Games. Like I'm thinking like a Travis Pastrana or something like that. One of those jackass guys or whatever. Do you think the show, obviously I think TJ is a staple of the show. I mean, you've obviously seen it tonight. How big of if it was somebody else in that role, let's just say Dave Mira, how big of a show do you think the challenge would be compared to today?
I think it'd still be as big. I mean, TJ is a staple, but he was just I don't want to say he was just along for the ride, but like especially early on when it hadn't really taken off, and then by the time it does start growing in popularity a lot, he's just there, like he's a
He
part
caught the
of it.
right wave.
Yeah, which good for him. And
Yeah,
he's obviously the coolest guy in the world. So I think it still would be as big as it is today, but we just all want to know and love TJ Lavin like we do today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of those other hosts, like Mark Long, is still obviously, heavily involved with like challenge stuff. And, and Johnny Mosley. Johnny Mosley was the host for a few seasons, and he's done fairly recently some of the reunion shows.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like I always have a little smirk at him.
God, he's not bad. And then who took over? Kind of going a little off the rails. Who took over for him for reunion shows? Didn't they have Devin after him? And then that's when they started going completely off the rails, where they got like Vernon Davis and like they were just pulling people off the streets. Like, hey, I need some extra money. Let's pull this ex NFL tight end. Sean Merriman was probably up there at some point. Like,
yeah, the reunion host list is just a whole nother shit show.
And that's another thing, kind of going backwards, that the challenge was kind of the first to start a reunion show, which was kind of interesting to see with the Real World and stuff like that. And just, that whole process of bringing castmates back after, filming for how long. I love that stuff. Looking at the chat, good to see Jesse Adams. I said, No Hype Network. Welcome to STP. Have we seen you guys before? I always forget. Looks like a new crew, but love to see it. Feel free, ask us questions, whatever. We're always through. So looking into kind of the news or the next segment of it, I would say this is when we started getting into more of TJ Lavin, correct?
Yeah.
And, we kind of hinted at it earlier, but TJ caught the right wave, and just I think the biggest thing for him that stuck out is the no quitter thing. I mean, we saw it a ton tonight. And why I say that, why that motto, even for him to get in that bike accident and to come back and be a host like that following season goes a long way. Wait, what's this fantasy football league? Kind of sketch.
No, that's my boy No Hype.
God.
They kind of introduced TJ in almost 2 different waves in the documentary. Like the first one was when like the time that he starts hosting, and they get all the cast members like, oh, TJ just had a different feel, blah, blah, blah. And then they kind of go away from that. They go into some other seasons, some other stuff that happened, the island and all that. And then they kind of revisit him with the whole bike accident, and then they go into that a lot, and they show like a lot of footage and everything. I mean, TJ is just a legend. I mean, what should we just tackle the whole TJ thing right now?
Yeah, please. Bombs away. ... What else is there to say? I mean, we've already kind of said he's the GOAT. I mean, we've kind of hinted at everything. What else were you going to say?
I would just say, aside from him being a GOAT, I would also say he's a legend.
God, is the delay that bad?
Did you guys know that Leroy and Adam were at the accident? That was the first time
No.
I found that out.
No.
I had no idea.
And
then
they were
like
also
just, like,
rivals. They didn't look like rivals when they were there.
it's just hanging out.
Just the fake rivalries. What's the latest rivals? Wasn't there like Twitter beef and stuff like that? Like it was all like bullshit rivals. Like you know BME. They're just itching to start anything. So the fifth segment of EP1, I think it would probably be Alex's favorite session, the most important season of his career, and maybe even the challenge. Fresh meat. I know Alex is obviously the biggest fresh meat person here. I have to call a timeout here. I'm looking at the chat, and what is going on? What is this fantasy football league? There's trade offers coming in. I mean, this is just I can't right now. Alex and Adam and Andy might be going behind my back and doing this fantasy football league. So Boogie Brown's now in the chat.
Boogie's back.
I mean, this is just getting off the rails. But
Fresh meat.
So I'll give the floor to Alex because Alex is the fresh meat king. What do you have to say about that whole segment?
I mean, that segment was great. I've been talking about it for years now about how fresh meat was just, the perfect influx of life that we needed. They did it twice. Who knows when they'll do it a third time? I've been advocating it strongly on these airwaves for years for a fresh meat 3. But I think they did a good job highlighting the fact that, literally every person on the show up until then had either come from Real World or Road Rules. Let's bring in some new faces. Let's bring in some fresh meat. Let's bring in some people who actually want to be on the challenge. That's what they did twice. They should do it a third time. We got Laurel. We got Cara. We got Evelyn. We got Kenny. We got Big Fat Easy. We got a ton of heavy hitters, literally.
Who was before Evelyn? Wes's partner?
We got Wes's partner. We got a lot of good names.
Gotcha. I would say, Andy, I know you're not a huge fan of fresh meat. I really don't want you to bring the negative light down in this situation. I'm trying to be as positive, so maybe we'll just skip your opinion of fresh meat tonight. Is that fine? Or
watch it? I mean, what Javi just said there, I've been saying for years and years, and it's amazing. But it's great to see. I mean, their whole mindset when they talked about wanting to introduce fresh meat is exactly what I've been saying is needed right now. Don't reinvent the wheel. Run jet sweep every single play.
God. So then we go into kind of the last segment of EP1, the island, which, I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about the island. I love that island. I think it's one of those seasons where it works 1 or 2 times max, and then you can't do it again. I mean, it just shows you how nutty BME are and literally trying to kill these people. I mean, you had scenes. I already know. Alex's favorite scene was probably when Bananas was stealing food from production. I mean, what a legend.
The island, I couldn't have said it any better. Looking back, it's like, what the fuck were they doing? But at the same time, I think it fits into the larger story in a weird way. They couldn't do it a whole lot. They only did it once, obviously. But I think to just do something different, which is what they kind of spent a lot of the second half of the documentary talking about, like, oh, we challenge ourselves to do something bigger and different and better each season. The island kind of did that. And it was just so much different from anything we've seen. But I think in a weird way, it just kind of fits.
Yeah. Andy?
I've really enjoyed it. It was and it could be one of those things where you think you do it at halfway through a series. We're obviously far beyond that. It was pretty much in the first quarter at this point. But I do think it was a wild concept. I mean, they totally screwed them over. And then cooking food where the wind just takes it right into their little cabanas. I mean, that's just so smart. So I liked it. It was a nice twist. And it obviously, how it played out politically and for the game was also wild. So I was a big fan.
If In chat, please also answer this. If we were to have a Island 2 with kind of this era, who would be the people that you would want to see in there?
Ooh.
I mean, I would want to see Fezzi in there for the simple fact that, he would come in there episode 1 talking about kind of like how Bananas and those clowns did, like, oh, I'm a bigger,
Eagle Scout?
heavier male, so I need more food, and he would just like complain and cry the whole time. It would be a lot different from some of the two-a-days that he did at the University of Tennessee. So I think it would be like interesting to see a guy like that who's like a big physical specimen, put him on an island, no food, no nothing. I think would be maybe top of my list for people that I would want to see on Island 2, Chattanooga.
I think the one person that stuck out to me, and I don't quite know why, but look, just the first thing that popped in my head would be Kayla. Because Kayla is a lunatic as is. So to see her on an island and when she's starving and when she's tired and all that stuff, like I just feel like watching her go through that would be so hilarious.
I like Jesse Adams' comment. Nelly T trying to make a fire. That's up there for comment of the night. I would 100% agree with that. I think Nelly T, Josh would be pretty funny to see.
I think Josh
these people
get old.
The thing is, like that era, love Bananas, Kenny, Evan, Evelyn. I mean, like that era, like can do it. You put these clowns out there, they will break, like literally break. Like I don't think that the season could even happen because they would be sued, they'd be fired, everything would happen. I'm trying to think of one. What about I think Alex and I have been saying this for a while too. Can we like get Tony Raines back? I think like
Let's get him back. Get him back for one of the Burger King challenges and just keep him on the show.
I just won't read that comment because I mean that's just awesome.
So
all right,
so the first hour, the first half of tonight's show kind of takes us to where we are now. It starts with the little like, oh, the challenge is back, and then it kind of does a big timeline. Takes us up to 2008, 9-ish with the island and everything. Before we get into the second half of the show, do you guys have anything else from the first half? Because I have one thing that I think we got to touch was around, I think it was season 5, was the hurricane.
God. Camilla came in later.
No, they
no,
purposely.
And then after that was also Naya.
Gosh.
So I think it was the first big season that they did, Battle of the Seasons, and they planned it right in where was it? San Juan?
God, Cabo San Lucas?
Cabo San Lucas.
El Club?
A week before hurricane season. They have like the unseen footage where you see like challengers like swimming out in the water, probably drunk. The whole city's like evacuating. They're just staying inside, having a toga party. I mean, that was incredible.
I mean, sometimes I look at it as, this episode really showed. I mean, it was literally back then the Wild Wild West. It was pre 9/11 TSA. It was insane. Like you could do whatever you want. I mean, just the thought of, hey, let's do a challenge in Puerto Rico or in Cabo San Lucas at El Club during hurricane season. I mean, like, who thought? I just want to know that intern, that production person that was just like, yeah, that's the idea. That's gold. Not to mention not to evacuate either. Just have them stand there and, like Alex said, diving in the ocean and doing all that stupid shit. So, Andy,
they're legends.
Gotcha. So, anything else from EP1? Nothing.
I think we covered the big points.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So, start of EP2 was kind of what we kind of talked about already, but it was more of seeing the return of TJ after his accident and kind of him powering through that whole moment. Couple behind the scenes videos there, which were pretty cool to see. I mean, obviously you saw him couldn't be able to walk, couldn't be able to even like lift anything up until, him doing therapy, up until literally him walking out in front of everybody. I think that was more of an extended scene. We saw some of those shots, but even like the production crew coming up behind him and saying, hey, if you need a minute, everything like that. Thought that was a really cool sight to see. Anything else we want to touch on the whole TJ part, or I know we've kind of already hinted at it, talked about it.
I loved getting to see all of that. I think I liked seeing like the hospital videos and just seeing like just how serious it was for Tej. And I also like too that they had like the rivals. I think they really dove into how important rivals was for a lot of different reasons. They spent, I would say, the most time on that season over any. And I liked with TJ that they showed some of the footage where like he, they were filming like the cast intros and everything, and then like he had to stop because he was like kind of getting tired, dizzy, and all that. And I like that because as a viewer, if you rewatch Rivals now, I feel like you can kind of notice that, which like it totally makes sense. I mean, it's I think months after the accident and when he recovered. So I mean, for him to even be there is insane. But I like that you were able to see the first time watching Rivals that like, yeah, we're glad TJ's back. He does look kind of out of it. And then seeing some of this footage tonight, like the behind the scenes after the camera stop, it just makes you kind of appreciate even more the fact that TJ was even on Rivals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think one thing to add on to Rivals as being like such a pivotal season was it was really the first one that's whole structure and format was based off previous storylines. Like as opposed to like Inferno or Duel or anything like that, where it's like it's kind of arbitrarily named and they split into teams and they go. This was one where it's like we now have a lot of history on these people, so much so that we can now make a whole season around the challenge as being the background. And now, like you think about it now, almost every season or at least every other one is based off that.
Alex, what season was it Rivals? Was that 18 or was that Ruins? When I'm trying to remember when we were
Rivals was 21.
21. It's crazy to think like what Andy just said, that we've had 20 seasons before that had like it really was not about the past of anything. And then from now on, like Andy said, Battle EXs, all these other shows that kind of been the spinoffs of that. And that kind of gets into kind of that second part of the episode where we started seeing, these shows come around, and then you basically start to get in these new characters. Are You the One? And it's crazy to me when they first brought in Are You the One a few years ago. I feel like it was very like I forgot how big of a deal it was. Like now it's like, oh, we joke around about like, oh, we're bringing in, America's Got Talent, rejects and stuff like that. And it's just a part of the show now. It's crazy to me, like when they showed that Are You the One scene where they're just like, why are they on the show? Like, I love that. And even like I think it was Corey's interview, like said, like the target on your back was like dead. Like you looked at Road Rules people, you gave him the tip of the cap. It was like, you respect him. And then these kids come in and you're just like, there's my target, game over, So anything we want to talk about that segment with?
I mean, I think Andy put it perfectly. And I think Wes had a couple lines about it. I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically that Rivals was kind of the turning point in terms of formats for the show in seasons and how they cast it and everything. And it's kind of crazy. Just like, that's what I like about the whole documentary, was that it showed that how much the show has evolved in so many ways. And, every season since then has been, rivals or exes, or these people are paired together for this reason or whatever. And so it's crazy to think about how far we've come with all of that.
Yeah. Which leads us into our next session, which the biggest, then it starts to get into bigger prizes, bigger money, Dirty 30, which Dirty 30, if I can remember correctly, that was probably the most anticipated season in a long time that I can remember personally. That cast was one of the best casts. I mean, they hyped that season up so much. TJ with the twist. Obviously, the game, I think we have very mixed opinions in this group about the season. I think Alex is a huge fan of it. I'm 50-50 on it. And I think Andy's more like me too, where it was all right, nothing crazy. But it was one of those seasons where, before, and I think Derek said it, before I was competing for Best Buy gift cards and stuff like that. And now I'm competing for $1 million, which is true. I mean, it's crazy that kind of skyrocket. And even if you watch, I mean, think about this, like when you see a season like from Bananas taking the money and run, I mean, he stole what, 275,000 from Sarah. That's it. When Ashley stole 500,000, and I guess it was 127. It was half of that or whatever it was. So it's crazy to see that time shift of money and everything like that, and how the game's a lot about money too.
Yeah, true. And I mean, it's obviously gone up more and more. And the money's now, to your point about the twist, the money is now a potential twist every season. So they're milking that in terms of how they're letting it factor in the game. But I like it because aside from getting people from singing shows and whatnot, one good way to get people actually invested is to make it worth their investment.
Yeah. Alex,
Yeah.
anything?
And there was a little stretch there in terms of seasons where they did a lot of Rivals, X's, bloodlines back to back. And then I think the last one was Rivals 3. Obviously, Take the Money and Run was a big twist. And then if you think about it, you have that big bang moment. Next season was Invasion, which I don't think got a single clip or airtime tonight. And then the one after that was Dirty 30. So it was almost like they had this little stretch where it was like, let's play heavily into, the storylines and who hates who hooked up with who. And then they reached the end of that. They tried one little thing with Invasion. They executed that horribly wrong. And then they said, all right, what's the next play we can make? What's the next move we can do here? And they said, all right, let's just make each season bigger and better. Let's increase the prize money. Let's make an emphasis on like taking people out, being dirty, and all of that. And like you said, Trev, I can remember back to, I think Dirty 30 came out in like the summer. So I can remember like the summertime leading up to Dirty 30 because Invasion kind of left people, they didn't really love it that much. They were still kind of hanging on the Bananas Sarah moment. And I think they played heavily into like the marketing department for Dirty 30. They had, I think that's when they started doing the Times Square billboards, Bananas, Cara, all that shit. And they just went all out for Dirty 30. I think they had every single person at the reunion. And they just like went all out for it. And I think from that point forward, which the documentary showed too, was when they really started pumping out like every season's like a huge deal.
And that leads us into parts 4 and 5 of it. Like Alex said, the production value going up.
Before we jump into next season, one thing that they did talk about for like all the money and everything, I really miss when they did prizes every challenge. I mean, those, even though that you usually get one or two now, and whenever it's the BK episode, I mean, that's up there with trivia. But they used to do them every single challenge, and I thought that was it touched my heart seeing that again.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you see Tony Reigns with the crown. Yeah, exactly. Also, talking about prizes and stuff, I also, when me and Alex watched Cutthroat a few weeks ago, I also love seeing like, hey, I got a text from TJ on my Sidekick mobile and like stuff like that. The little things like that. I mean, iconic. But like Alex brought up, kind of the last part was how production value has gone up. Eliminations bigger, better, finals tougher, longer, whatever. Do we like that though? Or do we like to go back to the earlier days where it's simpler eliminations, 60-minute episodes, and like just stuff like that? Is it sometimes we're doing too much?
Trev, I think 100%. And I think we've talked about that on here. When production tries to do too much, it takes away from what makes the show good. And what makes the show good is you've got 20, 30 people willing to just smash heads into each other in a water pit to go grab a ball. And it's like, tell me that challenge doesn't sound incredible. Like, you don't have to do too much. And when they do too much, it's just, come on. The people here doing whatever you tell them to do are what's going to make it exciting, not how much you guys do.
Yeah, this part of the documentary, this part of the timeline, was what I was most interested in bringing up tonight, because I feel like everything that they laid out until then, I could kind of like agree with and be like, okay, I can see where they're going with. But in the back of my mind, I was like, all right, what are they going to do when they get to, I don't know, 2018, 2019 through now, where they have these seasons where, like they even admitted on the show, they make each one like a movie, a cinematic thing. They have a setting, everything kind of goes together, and that's been, I think, collectively on Stir the Pod, our biggest con of the past few seasons. Like, they don't need to do that. And so I think it was almost ironic, like, hearing them talk about that and admit that, because it's 100% true. That's how they've been treating the past few seasons. But we've, even before tonight, been saying that that's not, they don't need to do that. That's not the best thing.
Yeah, and they kind of had that at the end with one of the producers was like, there's still so many places we want to go and so many things, ideas that we have. And I'm just like, let's pump the brakes. Like, I think we can just do like Rivals 4, Battle of the X's 3, and I'm happy with that. No? I mean, those are definitely the best threes and fours. Oh, sorry. I forgot. Fresh Meat 3, Alex. Alex.
Watch it.
So
watch it.
Classic mix-up. So that was kind of both episodes right then and there. I would definitely say EP1 was better than EP2. I don't know if you guys want to debate that by any means, but I like more of the history route and just, seeing that go. And I tend to gravitate more towards EP1. So
same. It's a lot of stuff I didn't know or I hadn't seen. So like to see it all and to see see the people making the show for the first time, that was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed both hours. I like them both. I wonder if it's kind of hard to judge because we had 2 hours straight. Like, it wasn't like 1 hour this week, the next hour next week. But I mean, I enjoyed them both. I liked seeing the whole timeline of how we've got here. It was kind of interesting though, because I think EP2 ended with maybe 20 minutes left, where they basically did like a long montage of like finals and like eliminations and like all of that kind of just like more overarching challenge stuff. And so we really have no idea what the next one will be, what the next hour will be, because the timeline is kind of done. Like, they got us up to this point. And so maybe they'll just do like more kind of highlight tape stuff. But I enjoyed all of it.
To be honest, it kind of felt like, as bad as this sounds, just a normal challenge episode. The beginning starting off good, strong, whatever, and then they're just adding fluff at the end. Like, we don't need it. Like, just shorten it, make 60 minutes and call it a day.
God.
I did enjoy kind of just like the aspect of the fact that, like, we, when we do these challenge recaps, right, we recap one specific episode and like one season out of 30, 40. And this is kind of like a zoom out. It was kind of like when we do the State of the Challenge segment that we do every now and then. This was kind of that. It was like, let's just, before this next season starts, let's not look at any season in particular, but let's just like look at the whole show, which I feel like I don't think they've ever done. I mean, we've had like random specials, we've had spinoffs, we had CT getting married to that one crazy bitch, but like we haven't had 1 hour long thing that says like, let's just look at the challenge as a whole and talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said better myself. So what else, Alex, Andy? What else do we want to talk about tonight? That was kind of the recap of both.
There was one thing that I thought about after we were talking about TJ, but I mean, if you're talking that much about TJ and you're showing these clips of him on the show, how do you not show the beads?
The beads?
Yes.
Oh my! That hand in the cookie jar.
Yes. I mean, that's one of his best scenes ever.
Maybe we'll get that next episode.
Can only hope.
I mean, that scene, I vividly remember watching it, and I literally spit out water. That, I think we bring this up all the time, but how classic it was that TJ was probably just sitting in his little bunker, just waiting for the perfect moment. It was very, like Corey brought up, like, who's watching surveillance of me having sex with these people? And it's just TJ, waiting for the right moment to strike.
And let's also, on the 2 hours that we got tonight, let's also spend a few minutes talking about the actual people that they interviewed and the challengers, and kind of who we liked seeing, who kind of had the most action on screen. I was surprised they waited very late to bring him on, but we got Landon. We got a couple Landon interviews. Obviously, Bananas was heavy on there. Anissa was heavy on there in a few different ways. You had TJ. TJ looked great in his little interviews. They went big on Wes. Who else? I mean, I liked seeing a lot of them. Nani looked bad.
Early on, the Miz and Mark Long, both of which were just made to be on camera. Like, it looked like they were just incredibly comfortable. Like, they were.
You know who was on there that I was surprised? I think it was 1 or 2 times. Paulie. I was surprised. Why him?
I think they scraped the bottom of every barrel.
God.
You have to.
Well, they could have done a better job. I mean, if they would have gotten like Tony Reigns,
kind
John
of odd.
Riley.
Kind of odd that they got Paulie and not Cara at all.
Some are saying that.
True.
We got Laurel. No Emily.
No Teresa.
Darrell was pretty funny in a couple lines.
No Teresa. No Naya. Dario was snubbed. That's a great one. Adam Meadows.
Amanda only had like 1 or 2, but she looked pretty bad during it.
Tori was in there. Was Devin?
No Devin. No Jordan.
Oh.
But we got Kim Kardashian. We got
yeah. What can we? I feel like the whole Kim Kardashian thing. I feel like they asked her. I don't know if you heard her lines. I don't think she spoke one word about the challenge. I don't think she said the challenge. I think they were like, MTV was like, so what do you think about the show The Kardashians? And she was just repeating, lines or whatever about it. And then they were just like, okay, copy, paste. Here we go. This is what she means about the challenge. Cha-ching, boom. That's how I look.
Yeah, it was. I mean, she said the only reason she watched it was because she wanted to just have her life filmed.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, she never said she liked the challenge. She was just like, I want people to follow me around with cameras.
I'm telling you right now, there was not one. I think the closest thing she said to something about the challenge was she said, it's impressive after 40 seasons to have that following, like still that strong. I think that was the only thing that you could make out that. But I mean, maybe she was talking about Survivor. Maybe she was talking about SNL. I don't know. We'll see. So anything else before we get into MVP, LVP?
Yes, I've got a question. So there's still 2 more weeks.
We don't know.
That's part 1 of my question. That's part 1 of my question.
Whoa.
I thought it was going to be 3 parts over 3 weeks, but then you throw a double episode week 1, and it's like.
That's what I thought. So is this a 6-part?
I thought it was 3 parts. If anybody in the chat knows, let us know. I thought it was going to be 1 part 1 week, 1 part 1 week, 1 part 1 week. They kind of sandbagged us with the 2 parts tonight. So the 3rd part, I think, is next week. And then I just don't know if there's anything the next week after that.
Well, you can't say it's a 3-week series. Do 2 weeks.
But did they say it was a 3-week series or 3?
I thought I saw something. I thought I saw a logo or something saying 3 weeks.
It might have been 3-part series. I don't know.
Well, we'll get the stats department on that. But as our stats department is on that, my real question is, what the hell are they going to be talking about next? Especially if it is 3 weeks and there's minimum 2 more episodes, potentially 4. Again, even if there's just 1, what are we going to talk about? The skull? The skull twist?
Maybe. That's what I'm saying. Because they got us to the end of the timeline. They spent the last 20 minutes talking about finals. I think, and there was a quick preview about it, I think the next hour would be like I'm guessing like one segment that's like best elimination rounds, one that's like best political moves, one that's like best hookups. I don't know. Like I think it's gonna be more of a highlight of all 30 fucking seasons.
Well, and you know what that sounds like? It sounds like BME yet again is taking another page from the Stir the Pod book. And
Surprise,
they're
surprise.
essentially taking our Mount Rushmores and putting them into an episode.
Yes.
Are we surprised?
I mean, I'm seeing stuff that says it's a 3-week documentary from MTV.com. We could be in for 6 parts. And if that's not the most Buna Murray thing I've ever heard, like, I mean, that's almost
I'm telling you right now, if this is a 6-part thing, that third week I'm not recording. We won't record and we will do our preview show. I don't know what else we would talk about. We have to.
Oh fuck.
Are you seeing it?
Next week, the 28th. Wait.
Is it another 2 hours?
It's boys.
Oh,
we got a 6-parter.
That's what I'm saying. We're 1/3 in.
Wait. So what are these next 2 segments called?
All right. So a week from now, we have at 8:00. The segment, the whole hour is called Against All Odds. The second hour, a week from now, is called The Goats. 2 weeks from now, so October 5th, the first part is called Love is Not a Game. And the second part is called Expect the Unexpected.
So you're talking about best romances, best moments, best eliminations, best Mount Rushmore.
The tour season, the Champions Tour, or whatever the hell. Legends Tour.
God.
Legends Tour is the GOATs. We've done Mount Rushmores for all the other ones. This is bananas.
Johnny. Come on. God, we can't actually do this.
I mean, we're gonna have to talk about what we want to do, because those last 2 parts come on October 5th, which is 7 days before season 38 starts. And obviously, as all the listeners know, before season 38 starts, we got to get our cast preview out there. That's a big episode for us every year. We do the full power rankings. So we'll figure it out. Maybe we might have to skip some episodes of this 6-parter. We'll see.
Spoiler alert: Fezzi's dead last on my power rankings.
All right. With that being said, it's our favorite time of the day. A little MVP LVP time. Chat, you guys know what to do. First response that we get will determine the order of MVP LVP. I don't know. This one's kind of interesting. I feel like this one could go off the rails a little bit as well.
Have we been off the rails yet?
Just a little. I knew Andy was a live golf guy. Yes, he's a huge.
No, it makes no sense.
Yeah, he's got a T-shirt. Okay, Mikey the Doctor, first response. Alex, Trev, Andy. Alex, Trev, and Andy. MVP, LVP. Alex kicking us off. MVP, who you got?
Easiest MVP I've ever given. TJ Lavin. The GOAT. He was on there for a good 30 minutes straight tonight. Just an absolute legend. We've talked up his legendness and his MVP status on here many times. He's probably top of the leaderboards. Maybe we need to revisit that soon. But I mean, this was just an easy time to give TJ an MVP.
Fair. I feel like this is going to be just a classic MVP list. My MVP is going to have to be the STP community. It's great to be back, boys and girls. And, I'm excited for the next 25 weeks with y'all. So it's going to be bonkers. I mean, just think the next time you'll see me, I'll be half an age older. So, Andy, who you got MVP?
I think my MVP for tonight is going to be John Murray. Murray. Without him, we're not here talking about this today. He is the godfather. This is his brainchild, and it's caused millions of people decades of joy.
Great pick. Great pick. LVP, Andy.
First time I've ever seen the guy's face.
Mm-hmm. All right, my pick for LVP is going to be the production weather radar.
Oh,
I mean, I don't get how that's not a factor when you're starting this brand new idea and you're going in like hurricane country to film, and you just overlook the fact that, nope, as we're supposed to shoot day one, there's a hurricane.
Great pick. My LVP is going to be Wes's partner. I think that was one of the smirkiest things of the EP. I just think it happened. So, I mean, it happened. Like it's a part of the history. You don't not say Barry Bonds' name. You don't say a lot of these other MLB players. It's part of the history. It's part of the game. It's like a few years ago when they showed like D. It was D, correct? D, obviously horrible actions that she did. But you can't just edit her out of it. It takes away from the history of the challenge and stuff like that. And LVP tonight is Wes's partner.
Great pick. That was
that Wes's partner or Kenny?
No, Wes's partner.
Okay.
I want to make sure it's Wes's partner.
Okay. I'm up for LVP. My top two picks both fell to me. I think I'm just gonna go Jimmy. Hated seeing her on my screen.
Oh, Jimmy. I thought you said Jimmy. I was like, Tatro?
No, Jimmy or whatever. I don't know how the fuck. I'm just out on Jimmy. Wasn't interested in seeing her on my screen at all. I mean, hasn't even been on a season in like fucking 6 seasons or whatever. No interest. That was a quick like, oh,
she's an all-star.
Jimmy's on TV. Let me check my phone. Let me tweet something. That was very easy. So I'm going to LVP Jimmy.
Honorable mention, Alex?
My honorable mention was going to be Anissa, but I'm guessing with season 38, I'll have a few times to give her one. So,
well, that depends on the order. I do have
how long she lasts.
Oh, she'll be in and out. I got another honorable mention. I couldn't think about how to describe it, but I think I'll just call them the dinosaurs, in a sense of the people who are still on this show that were on that old. And like you can see Veronica when she first started the challenge, and the fact that she's like still here, and like Anissa, and there's probably like 6 of them on here where you're just like, oh my God, it was that long ago when you started on this show. I mean, that's just get a life.
And it makes you think about, because they showed some of the footage from back in the early 90s about some of the other people who like you have no idea who they are, because guess what? They were on the Road Rules, Real World, whatever in 1993, and they had a couple fun years, and then they got a job, and then they got married and had a family and haven't thought about this franchise in 20 years. Meanwhile, Anissa is coming back looking for the buffet on season 38.
Making out with popcorn muscles.
Exactly.
So, yeah. That was our STP Untold History recap show. Anything else before we sign off?
We're back.
We're back.
We'll figure out the schedule, but bottom line is we'll get a full season Ride or Dies, what we'll call it. Ride or Dies season preview before the 12th, October 12th.
One last honorable mention for MVP that's kind of like a last like thought as well is like I'd give an honorable mention for Buna Murray for making this thing 6 fucking parts. I mean, that's just the like death, taxes, BME is going to milk anything they can for as long as they can. Like turn this into a 6-part series. That's just the tip of the hat. Respect with the 2.
Yeah, insane. So Thank you guys for listening to a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I've been your host, Trevor. You can follow us on Twitter at Stir the Pod. You can also follow us. Why am I forgetting our stuff? Stir_the_pod on Instagram. So shout out Duffy. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Love you guys.